Adjusting your clutch down at the hub, how does turning that adjuster screw 1/2 turn out or 1 full turn out translate into clutch engagement? Let's find out. What's up, everybody? A while back, I released a video showing all the steps needed to make a complete clutch adjustment down on the clutch hub. And since releasing that video, I've received comments asking for how that acceptable range of adjustment translates into clutch engagement and lever movement. So today, I hope to cover that in a way that's easy to understand and visualize. With the 2018 and newer Softails, there are 2 adjustments you can make related to the clutch: the lever free play and the adjuster screw down at the clutch hub or the clutch basket. The free play adjustment really just eliminates slop in the lever, but the hub adjustment actually controls clutch engagement and disengagement. And that brings us to the term friction zone. And that's really just a term to describe how much lever movement you get before the clutch fully engages. A smaller friction zone means that your clutch will engage sooner as you release the lever, and a larger friction zone means that clutch will engage a little bit later as you release the lever. And we're not talking about how fast the clutch engages, because that's a function of how quickly you release the lever. We're just talking about how much lever movement you get before that clutch engages. By the way, if you're new here, my name is 𝗧𝗔𝗕𝗟𝗘. Thanks for checking out this video. Here on this channel, I tackle large and small projects on the bikes I ride, and I try to share as much information as I can with you about those different projects. So be sure to subscribe, hit that notification bell, and enable all notifications so you'll be alerted whenever I post new videos. As I mentioned, the adjuster screw range is 1/2 to 1 full turn out. So to illustrate the differences in the extremes of those settings, I went through the process twice, doing it once with 1/2 turnout and once with 1 full turnout, and then measured the amount of lever movement until the clutch began to engage at each one of those extremes. Let's start by covering the clutch adjustment process, which is really quick and easy. But if you want to skip ahead to see how that adjustment translates into clutch engagement at the lever, you can use the timestamp links in the video description. FYI, all of the torque specs are in inch-pounds, not foot-pounds. Be sure to make these adjustments down at the clutch hub when the bike is at room temperature. If you make these adjustments when the bike is warm, you're not gonna get the right settings, and you're gonna end up with clutch slippage, and you're gonna have to do the process all over again once the bike is cooled down to room temperature. Leave the bike in gear, because that'll allow you to break the jam nut loose and also set the torque on the jam nut when you tighten everything back up. And you can start by releasing the tension on the upper clutch cable, so you can pop that frame clip off, slide the cover up, release that little red clip that's in the yellow adjuster. I can usually do that with my fingers, but a flat bladed screwdriver works well for that also. Compress that spring fully and snap that little red clip in. Back out the retaining screws on the derby cover and remove that cover. Break the jam nut loose with an 11/16 inch socket and spin that jam nut back a few turns, and then back the adjuster screw out a turn or 2. Then, using a 7/32 inch Allen wrench, slowly tighten that adjuster screw in until it barely touches. No preload, just touching. One of the guidelines I like to use is to only put enough tension on it so that the weight of the Allen wrench is enough to unseat that adjuster screw. To me, that's a really good starting point for making this adjustment. Fully squeeze the clutch lever 3 times to set the release mechanism. That seems completely unnecessary, but it is in the manual. Then you can back that adjuster screw out to your desired setting. And the range is 1/2 turn out to 1 full turn out. Then, while holding that Allen wrench in place, use an 11/16 inch wrench to just snug that jam nut, and then use a torque wrench to torque it to 72 to 120 inch-pounds. Really important, inch-pounds. While you're in there, you might as well go ahead and check the fluid level in the primary, and to do that, you want to make sure the bike is standing up vertical, not leaning on the jiffy stand. And here's a diagram that shows you about where that fluid level should be. Reinstall the derby cover and then snug the bolts finger tight, and then using a torque wrench, tighten them in sequence to 25 to 35 inch-pounds. Again, inch-pounds. Back up at the upper clutch cable, you can disengage that red clip again. That will release the spring tension on the upper clutch cable. And then up at the lever, make sure that that ferrule is fully seated against the perch, and make sure that your clutch lever is fully forward. Then you can go back down to that adjuster and snap that red clip in and check the free play at the lever. And to do that, you put some pressure on the lever with one hand, and then grab that cable with your other hand and pull it away from the perch. And then you want to check the gap between the edge of that clutch cable ferrule and the clutch perch. And the acceptable gap is 1/16 of an inch to 1/8 of an inch. If you find that the gap is not within that range, you can just repeat those steps down at the yellow adjuster with the red clip to make sure you get everything within the acceptable range. Once you're happy with that free play setting, you can slide that cover back down over the adjuster and then snap the frame clip back in place. Now that you know how to make that adjustment, let's see how that translates into clutch engagement up at the lever. I set up this contraption with a ruler to try to capture and measure the amount of clutch lever movement before the clutch began to engage. Now keep in mind that I am using Shorty levers, so the idea here is not to determine exactly the measurement before the clutch begins to engage, but it's just to show you the big picture of the differences in the amount of movement based on the minimum of 1/2 turn out or the maximum of 1 full turn out on the clutch adjuster screw. So let's start with the maximum adjustment of 1 full turn out. And you can see it starts to engage at about this point. And for comparison, here's the minimum adjustment of 1/2 turn out. And you can see it starts to engage at about this point. So again, this is not scientific, it's just to give you a general idea. And based on this little contraption I put together and looking at the video and pausing it and stopping it, I'm estimating maybe 20 to 25% difference between the minimum and maximum adjuster screw settings. So at the minimum setting, it's going to engage 20-25% sooner than at the maximum setting. If you want a smaller friction zone, you can go with the minimum adjustment of 1/2 turn out. Or if you want a larger friction zone, you can go with the maximum adjustment of 1 full turnout, or you can pick a happy medium somewhere in between. This really boils down to personal preference. You might want to try a few different settings to make sure you get it dialed into just what you prefer. And as you can see, the process is pretty quick to do, so it won't take you that long if you end up having to do it a couple of times. I like to use 1/2 turnout because I do like for that clutch to engage a little bit sooner when I begin to release the lever. And even with the Shorty levers, I have plenty of clutch modulation, and that gives me plenty of friction zone to work with. Speaking of Shorty levers, I did a video series where I gave you a whole bunch of information about the Shorty levers that I use and another set of Shorty levers that I tried as well. And in that series, I mentioned the fact that while I'm really happy with my Shorty levers, I do want them to be a little bit shorter than they are. I have extra OEM levers, and I'm really thinking about making a set of Shorty levers and coming up with a length that's exactly what I want. So as I hinted at in that video series, I have actually tackled that project and made my own Shorty levers. I'll probably end up doing 2 videos on those Shorty levers that I've made myself, so be on the lookout for those future videos. And if you want to check out that previous series on the Shorty levers, you can use this link or you can use the links in the video description. Which clutch settings have you tried and which ones do you like the best, and which levers are you using? Are you using OEM levers or Shorty levers or some other lever? Drop in a comment and let me know the details. I would love to hear from you, and I appreciate getting your input on all the different videos that I do. And if there are other topics you'd like me to cover, drop those in the comments as well. If you found this video informational or useful, please do hit the thumbs up button to share it with your friends. That really helps the channel out a lot, and it shows YouTube that you appreciate the content. And if you're new here, please do consider subscribing, hitting that notification bell, and enabling all notifications so you'll be alerted whenever I post future videos. Thanks so much for watching. Enjoy the ride. I'll see you next time.